Let's start recording. Okay. All right, guys, here we are back with the Black Lives Matter Roundtable. I am here with Antanaya Bell, right? Antanaya Bell, okay.
Yep.
Naya,
Yeah.
how are you? How are you doing? How was quarantine for you, and what are you up to nowadays?
I'm great. Quarantine has been a little rough because I'm an outgoing person, so I like going out. But other than that, like right now, I'm in school. I go to Southern Methodist University, SMU. Right now, I'm going to get my master's in sport management. So right now, I've been chilling, but school has kind of been the first week a little hectic. So
Everything's
chilling.
gonna everything's gonna be online and stuff, or just hybrid classes?
Yeah, yeah, I don't like it at all because I'm a very in person, in class type person. I feel like I grasp things better that way.
All right, so I'm about to dive right into this. I'm not really going to mention the George Floyd thing, but I'm going to mention the Jacob Blake thing. I just want to know how you feel, and from your perspective, what do you feel we can do better as a community, as you know, and this will go for the police department, us as a community. Like, what can we do to prevent things like this, in your opinion?
It's it as a community, it's kind of hard to say because I really feel like we've done like a lot of things to bring notice that we want change. And like we write bills and we march and we protest, and it's like what more can we possibly do? We set up organizations, we try community centers to get people knowledgeable of all the situations and just about our history. And it's kind of tough to say what more can the community do when we pretty much like we do so much, and it's just the fact that when are we going to get something back
Mm-hmm.
from all that we do? So I feel like that's my main issue, is that like when are we going to get something back when we give so much?
Okay, all right, that's right. And right now, you are living
I
in.
live in Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas.
Okay, and are you from Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas, or
No, no,
where
I'm
are you
from
from?
Brooklyn. I'm from Brooklyn.
Hey, okay, here we go. All right, the
Yeah.
PX over here. So one thing I was always asking everybody was just like, what were some of the things that you experienced growing up, if you experienced anything at all, and how did you handle it, and how did that turn you into who you are today?
Um, Growing up in Brooklyn, you see a lot, let alone just seeing my father go through this because he's black. So, like my mom, she's half white, half black, but she looks more white than anything.
Mm-hmm.
But like seeing it from my dad, it's really heartbreaking because I've seen it like firsthand. There were times, I think I was like 8 years old.
Mm-hmm.
We were in a car, literally just pulled up to the front of our apartment. Police pulled him over, and two cops pretty much got him out the car, and they started harassing him like in the back of the car, and I literally hear everything. They're cursing at him and like pretty much just taunting him, like trying to get something out of him as if he did something. And he's pretty much asking them like, why you pull me over? And they're pretty much saying, we ask the questions here. And it was really traumatizing for me, especially to experience that at 8 years old. And my mom is trying to calm me down, and it was just really traumatizing because I never experienced something like that, especially if my dad didn't do anything. So what was the problem? They just saw him as a black man. So
See, I have no words for that. That's unbelievable. It's not fair. It's crazy that you had to go through that when you were 8 years old. Was there anything else that like you've went through personally? Have you ever been
um,
through like, racist acts throughout school, throughout your years? Like, talk about a couple of them. I really want what I'm trying to do is just I'm trying to get people to talk about their experiences. I want whoever tunes in to watch this can see what the experience is like on the other side, probably connect with people and understand that we are all human, but there's
yeah.
obviously things that need to get fixed. So please share whatever you can, share whatever you're comfortable with.
One thing, one thing that I do want to point out, I don't know if it's controversial or anything, is that like growing up, since I'm like very pale and light skinned, people think that I had an upper hand in not experiencing racism at all,
Mm-hmm.
where it's just like I experience the same thing as a regular dark skinned or black person. And just because my skin is lighter doesn't mean I don't get to I don't experience the same thing that y'all do.
That's
So
actually not controversial at all, because I know a lot of people, including myself, who get told like, "Oh, you don't go through what we go through," and it's just like, little did you know, we actually do. So that's
same
not
thing.
controversial at all. That's just how you are feeling in our society today. Like people like to talk, and it's just like, do you even know what you're saying yourself? Like,
Exactly.
like.
I'm like a white person, they see any shade of us, we black regardless.
Mm-hmm.
So like growing up in elementary school, I pretty much went to like a Ukrainian Catholic school. Weird, right? But
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, I went to Ukrainian Catholic school, so it was a bunch of like Russian and Ukrainian students, and pretty much I was probably out of the entire school a handful of 5 black kids.
Okay.
And we experienced probably the worst out of everybody. Like I was called a country black hoe at 13, and yeah, like crazy things. And I was like, wow, like are y'all serious? Just because I'm black and I look different from these like from the white girls. And I was just like, wow, like experience that type of racism at like 13 years old, and a girl called me a gorilla just because I was tall. And I'm like, wow.
Yo, wow, I'm so sorry. That's,
It
that's
it
unbelievable. Okay.
like I laugh at it now
Mm-hmm.
because it's like it doesn't affect me because I know who I am now.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm proud to be who I am. I'm proud to be black. Like I don't care what anybody says. But like back then, like you growing up and you've never experienced something like that. And then it's just mostly and realizing that like it's just mostly kids talking and hearing from what their parents
Mm-hmm.
say about black people.
Yeah. Wow, that's pretty tough. And did you ever find yourself in a position where, if you did speak to like a faculty or someone like, teacher or so, and they didn't do anything, or
It is at all.
they didn't do
Like
anything?
I told my teacher, I told the principal, and it got to where they was just like, oh my gosh, really? But they never said anything to the kids.
Hmm. Okay.
So
All right.
I literally just got to a point where I told my parents, and they said, if none of them teachers do anything, just you beat them, and then we'll handle the rest. And I was just,
Okay.
I was never,
Did you ever find yourself in some fist fights or anything?
yeah. No, I never found myself. I was never that type of person.
Me either.
So yeah, I never like, especially since like one of the only black kids in the school. So of course they will always sit there and take probably the white kid side over the black kid because it's
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah. Okay. All right, so let's fast forward it a couple of years. In your time in Cortland, you said you were the treasurer, president of
BSU.
BSU, and you also were heavily involved with SGA. Now, being a black woman and, let's say, in power, because you held a position, you had responsibilities, you had priorities, and people looked up to you, people answered to you, you were always involved. How has that shaped you, being a woman in power and being able to make a difference in other students' lives and other people's lives? Like what has that created for you?
It was always a humbling experience because I took everything as like a learning experience. I never looked at myself as like a powerful
Mm-hmm.
or like a person that was head of somebody because honestly, BSU, I looked at it as a family. We were a team. So we all worked together no matter what your
Of course.
position was. I never looked at it as if I was above somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So like everything, how can I say this? It was just a really humbling experience and learning more so about other people's experience dealing how can I say this, there's different cultures of black. How can I say this,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm answering the question right.
No, so basically what I was trying to say is just like being a black woman who has this form of responsibility, and you are technically now a role model for other black women who are coming into this school
Okay.
and are trying to figure out what can they do for themselves? What are they capable of doing? And here you are just paving the way. Like, what did you ever find yourself mentoring someone, or like, like stuff like that? Did you ever have a situation where you guys had to, something racial happened, and then as a group you guys came together and figured it out? Like anything like that? Like,
I would say, um, I think it was around the time Trump got elected.
okay.
That was kind of not only a BSU thing, but more of a voice office thing,
Hmm.
where we kind of felt like we lost something, and we were kind of scared to be on campus.
Hmm.
So a lot of students looked to the clubs themselves for guidance and just for comfort,
Okay.
to let people know that like we have someone to talk to about this issue right now, so we don't know how campus is going to be, because like people don't want to say it, but we all know that there were a lot of racist students on campus.
Okay.
So
All right. This is what I wanted to dig into a little
yeah,
bit.
people don't want to say it, but there was a lot of racist students on campus, and they fully came out when he got elected.
Mm.
And it got to a point where we were scared. I remember one time I was in the voice office before class, and there was a truck riding around with a Confederate flag.
Hmm.
I was like, wow, like they're really being bold right now.
Yeah.
And it even, like, one traumatizing thing that really got me was we had an intense BSU meeting, and it was literally after the election. It was like our e-board meeting.
Hmm.
And after, it was like 10 o'clock at night, walking home, my friend Mike Weedy was walking me home, and all of a sudden a car full of white students pulled up next to us, and they pretty much yelled at us saying, it's, excuse my language, it's Trump's fucking country niggers. And that was literally on campus.
Oh my God! Oh, what are we doing?
Yeah, that was on
What are we
campus.
doing? What are we doing? See, that's unacceptable. That is like, that's just,
Literally, me and Mike were like shaking.
yeah.
We
You
had
don't know
to,
what to do at that point.
yeah,
That's
like
just like,
they pulled up, and like we didn't know we didn't know what was going to happen. Like they literally just stopped their car and then drove off.
mm,
So like we were scared,
yeah,
and like it got to a point where it's like I didn't even want to go home.
okay.
Like I didn't know. Like I called my mom and everything. Like I was scared. Like Mikey walked me the rest of the way home just to make sure I was good. But like I was shaking.
Yeah.
And the next thing I told my mom, she emailed Bitterbomb the next day.
Okay,
She was,
okay.
yeah, she was just like, you better handle this because I will get media and everything.
Hmm.
But of course, like when we went to like UPD and such, they felt like they didn't have enough information,
Information.
or even just to, I stated the car and how it looked. I couldn't get the license plate,
Yeah.
but they pretty much said that, oh, but like there's about 300 and something cars on campus with that description or with that type. So like, and I'm like, well, check the cameras. Oh, they checked the cameras,
Yeah,
but
actually,
they couldn't fully distinguish the vehicle.
at all,
So
any angle, anywhere, at all. Okay, I mean, if it's
I
nighttime,
was just
you can't see.
like,
I get it, but
wow, okay. So there was like, there's nothing much else we could do.
and no further action was taken. Like nothing from the school. Okay, so now that you're no longer attending Cortland, what would you suggest if something was to happen like this to another student? What would you suggest the right necessary steps to be able to make the student feel comfortable, but then also like make sure that this stuff is not consistently happening? What would you think that
I
would?
would say the one thing that probably comforted me more was pretty much the diversity department.
Okay.
I was able to talk to Lima, and
Lima's
um,
awesome.
yeah, I was able
Lima's
to talk.
awesome. I love Lima. Shout
Yeah,
out to Lima.
yeah. I hope she's doing good. I haven't heard from her, but yes, but she helped me out through the situation, especially going through the report. Also, Anna Maria, they helped me to make a report, but with UPD and also with the diversity office, just so they had those cases on file,
Mm-hmm.
and just to show like this stuff is relevant. It's not
Yeah.
students are just like making this stuff up as
Yeah.
it goes. Like this stuff is really happening.
Mm-hmm.
So like I would say, of course, report it if anything. Don't keep it to yourself. Never do that.
You
If it
listen up, everybody who's watching. Don't keep it to yourself. All right.
report it to UPD, Better Bomb, anybody, the chief diversity officer, anybody you can think of.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the one thing that kind of comforted me because I had someone to talk to.
Okay. And okay, so now being down in Texas, and I believe that's a predominantly white,
Yeah,
state, and like
that
the
was
whole
pretty
Confederate,
diverse, but yeah,
Confederate thing, like, because
yeah.
even talking about the Confederate flag, a couple of weeks ago, I was sitting at Bricks, and I was eating food, and they just painted the Black Lives Matter mural on Main Street. One, there was this guy on his motorcycle riding around with his Confederate flag, no big deal. But then some dude in a Corvette, whatever you want to call him, ends up like, sky, tire marks onto the Black Lives Matter logo, and it was just like, was that even? It was like, was that even necessary? Like, we're a small town. Like, what are you doing? Like, are you really that butthurt that, in other words, painting some words on a floor bothers you that much? To us, it means something, but to you, it clearly it bothers you that, like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't know where the middle ground would be for someone to be like, oh yeah, that looks nice, I respect that, compared to, oh no, I have to vandalize this. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's heartbreaking because it's like we're not trying to make it seem like only Black Lives Matter.
Mm-hmm.
No, we're trying to make it seem like we're equal.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
not seem like we're equal. We are equal
yeah.
because
We're
we're all
supposed to be
human beings.
considered equal.
Yes. So that's the only they're not realizing that we're not sitting here saying that, oh, only Black Lives Matter. No, we just been put through a lot more stuff that
Yeah.
we're trying to be heard,
Mm-hmm.
and y'all not getting it. So
Mm-hmm.
that's and I'm like, so in order for you to get it, we're gonna put it in your face.
Okay.
So that's what that's what they're failing to realize.
Do you feel like the friends you've met a handful of people who, because of their skin color, somebody else would probably look at them like, I don't want to chill with that person. Like, like me, I met a lot of white friends up here who love everybody, accept everybody, are not even a single racist bone in their body, but other people will look at them from a far distance and be like, nah, like, what do we do, or how can we allow our friends who want to stand up for us and want to stand by us be able to confidently come out and say, hey, I support you guys, without being reprimanded just because it's, I don't know, people make it seem like they're bandwagoning, just riding a wave kind of thing, just want to be a part of a trend, and it's not a trend, it's life, it's a real thing. So what would you do for your friends? Like, what would you suggest?
Honestly, thank God I've never had to experience something like that where it's like, say, like my white friends, they've all been supportive, especially of me when it comes to um especially on when I was on campus,
Mm-hmm.
my movements and being involved with BSU. And thank God, like there were times where like when I became president, I even gave like things to the professors just so they can share things around. So I was just very happy that I had people that were supportive of it. I would say when it comes to like, how can I say this? Blacks not feeling as if like whites are just on the bandwagon. I'm I don't particularly care because I'm like, if they're on the bandwagon, that's for their own self-conscious.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that they have to deal with in their own heart.
Of course.
And honestly, I'm like, I can't judge anybody's heart. So if that's you, that's you. But
Mm-hmm.
thank you for bringing the
Supporting.
notice out. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you for supporting and bringing
Yeah.
the notice out because it actually one person helps more. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I particularly don't care if people are bandwagoning. That's your own conscience that you have to deal with. Yeah, it's sad, but it can be frustrating, but it's like I say every person has their own conscience and they have to deal with it.
Okay. As a sport management major, you had to do your internship, correct?
Yes.
Where did you do your internship?
I did it with the SUNYACs.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, oh, all right. So then everything's like mainly in-house. Aside from experiencing any, racist energy or anything from students, did you feel like you were ever surrounded by faculty who might not be fond of you for whatever reason?
No, I wouldn't say I've had faculty that weren't fond of me because of it, but there was like assumptions that I have the over professor that
Mm.
I feel like that didn't particularly care
Okay.
about students.
Hmm.
I don't want to give names
No,
like
of
that.
course not. You don't have to. It's just more
Yeah.
of like making this aware so that when people decide to sit down and watch this, it's like, all right, if there's a problem in the school, what are we going to do to fix ourselves kind of thing.
And I wasn't the only one that noticed it either. There was other
Okay.
Black students,
Mhm.
and we kind of knew what he or she favored. I don't say which ones, but I do want to give shout outs to my two favorites that always held it down, which was like Professor Buren and Professor Vezinios. Um,
Yeah.
I will never forget that I had sport law. I think it was junior year, and it was around the Colin Kaepernick situation, and um, Professor Buren, she usually like lets us like ask questions or if there's anything that we wanted to talk about before class. So I brought up the Colin Kaepernick situation because there was another recent unnecessary Black killing by a cop,
Mhm.
and I asked the students in the class, "Do you guys see why Colin Kaepernick is doing what he's doing after what happened last night?" And I got the complete opposite response. I thought I was actually going to get some support, but these like the students in my class, mind you, I was the only Black female in that class,
Mhm.
and asking this question, and I didn't know what to expect, but I kind of put myself out there on the line,
No, that's
and
fine. That's exactly what you're supposed to do.
and um pretty much they were just like he should be doing this on his own time. He shouldn't be doing it on broadcasting TV and this and that. And I was just like, wow. And then of course they bring up black on black crime and this and that. And then I appreciated Professor Buren really trying to educate these students on their ignorant comments,
Mm.
stating that like, do you guys understand like what it's like to live as a Black person on a daily? And they they were quiet,
Mm.
and then that was my time to speak, and I was pretty much getting emotional to a point where I was going to cry because they really hurt my feelings
Yeah, of course.
as some of the things they were saying.
Mhm.
And I said, like, do y'all understand what it feels like to worry about my father, my cousins, my friends, my uncles on a daily basis?
Mhm.
I'm like we go through this every day. Like we can't take this off.
Yeah.
Like I can't take this off.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
I'm like, while you guys can go home and not worry about a cop pulling you over, I'm like, my dad can be driving home at 4 o'clock in the morning from work and he gets pulled over by a cop just because he's out at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, are you serious? And then it only takes for him to show his MTA badge for them to be like, oh, okay, we'll leave you alone.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. Mm.
And it's just heartbreaking because what happens if my dad didn't work for the MTA or didn't work for the city?
Exactly.
Y'all be harassing him over something else.
Mhm.
So it's like they didn't realize the things that we have to deal with on a daily, and especially like I'm away at college. I'm
Yeah,
four
I was
hours.
gonna ask you that. Like, how are you? Like, how are you dealing with all that stuff?
I'm like I'm
Being
four
away from
hours
home.
away from home, and it's like not being able to see my dad and have my dad call me and be like, "Yo, Nay, guess what happened to me today? And I'd be like, again? Like, are you serious?
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's really hard for these students to realize what we go through on a daily, but it's up to them if they want to not be ignorant to it. If they want to educate themselves and actually, I wouldn't say feel sympathy for us, but just understand
Yeah,
the
exactly
things
where we
that we
come
go
from.
through. Yeah, where we coming from, or how we react to certain things and why we react this way.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's nothing against, I'm like, Black Lives Matter. I have to realize, like, this is not a movement against white people.
It's not. It's just a
It's
movement
not a
for
movement against white
ourselves.
people.
Like we want to be recognized as an equal human being.
We
Like
want to
it's
be
not.
heard. We want to be considered as an equal.
Mhm.
We would like to not be killed by a cop when we get pulled over.
Or get stared at by everybody in the store or something.
Yeah, that
Yo,
too.
you know how many? Yo, I what was it? It was a couple of maybe like I was just like a 12 years old, 13 years old, going to 42nd Street down in Times Square. And I forgot what diners around there, but I walked in with my brother, his girlfriend at the time, and we all colored. We we walk in, and when I tell you that every single person in that diner was white, and that every single person in that diner broke their head, and that every single person just stared and stared like they've never seen a human being before. It was just uncomfortable, and it was just like, nope, we're out. We're not gonna eat here. I don't want to eat here.
And the crazy part is like, so when I didn't start off at Cortland
Mm,
for my first year at college. I went to a HBCU.
okay.
So I transferred into Cortland my sophomore year, and then like it was kind of a little bit of a culture
Culture
shock
shock.
for me. Yeah, going into like, even though I haven't been in an all white class since I was like 13,
Yeah, of
but
course.
like, going back into that, and especially like like the only black female in that
Mm-hmm.
class, it was very intimidating.
Mm.
But then like, thank God, like I rose to realize that like I'm happy to be the only black girl in the class, because it's like I'm getting noticed now. I'm
Yeah,
like, my professors notice me, and the crazy part is I'm doing better than half these students, probably 75% of students in this class. So it's like I'm really getting noticed now.
yeah,
So it's like I like the fact that I stood out in my class,
of course.
and it honestly, like, I really appreciate, I especially appreciate the professors that really took time to really understand the certain things that I was going through on
Mm.
campus too, because also like they were my outlets too. Like,
Mm.
especially like after class with Professor Barron, she really let me talk to her and like explain like the things that I go through on a daily basis on campus, and even just like my entire life.
Mhm. That's
And
nice.
so yeah,
It's
I
good. It's good to know that we have our professors who really care that way. Because I think that's another problem too. A lot of our students probably feel like they don't have a place to go, or place someone to speak to, and to know that we do have professors that provide that safe haven. Hopefully, this would help out students moving forward. Hearing it from you, hearing it from me, like that's big. It's
yeah.
big.
So like I really appreciate like Portland, and especially sport management department, to like be supportive like of their black students, and just I guess even in like our presentations, because like I feel like my presentations were sometimes a little bit more different, because
Hmm.
I grew up like in like a urban city.
Hmm.
So it's just like I have different ideas, or even like some of my classmates who grew up in the same setting as me, we brought in different ideas than like some of those students pretty much who grew up in like
Hmm.
Island, or like more suburban areas.
Yeah.
So it's just like I appreciate them accepting like ideas, especially if like they were different and not from what they used to see.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna bring it back to Texas real quick because I know that was a brief answer. But how do you feel out there? Like, how is it out there? Have you experienced any hardship from anybody? Like, just
Like I I really haven't.
okay.
I say honestly, the most that I've seen is probably like SMU is pretty much a white. It's like probably
That's
one of
it.
the
Just like it being predominantly white, and that's it.
it's literally like probably one of the whitest schools you can go to,
Okay.
and it's like I knew that before going in there, but their networking base is amazing, but it's like that's where I really see probably like most of, I would say, like the Trump 2020 signs or whatever. And then, sometimes that gets us a little like taken back a little bit
Of
because
course.
it's like what kind of things that we see him representing
Hmm.
as. So, but other than that, it's kind of been like a smooth thing. I haven't had any bad experiences out here.
That's amazing.
Hopefully, yeah, hopefully I won't for the
Yeah.
rest of the time that I'm out here.
Hmm.
But but anyway, like Dallas is very diverse.
Hmm.
So it's not like I live in a country town with
Hmm.
a bunch of.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna close it out soon, but I would like to give you the floor and give you a chance to say anything and everything to all the Black women out there, all types of women out there who have to overcome the hardship of being a woman in a, I guess, male dominated, world, and having the sport industry also being male dominated. Like, if you have any words of wisdom for these women, like, doesn't matter what you have to say, it can go from anything. Just, I want you to share.
My
I
thing is
want them to
that
hear it.
I put this on my board myself. Do not be afraid to speak out. Do not be afraid to express your feelings. Do not be afraid to express your ideas just because you feel like you might be the lesser person in the room. No, because your thoughts and ideas matter as well. So feel like that you are just as important to be in a room as anybody else, because you got yourself into that position, so that means you deserve to speak up as well. don't don't be afraid to express yourself and to just put yourself out there. So I'm literally telling myself that through grad school, because I'm taking that with me through every class, because I want these people to remember me.
Of course.
I
That's
want
amazing.
people to remember me so that when I go out there into the job world and I'm sitting here networking, they be like, "Oh yeah, I want her.
Hmm.
She worked her ass off. Yeah, I want her." So make sure you stand out. Do not back down and speak up for yourself,
Hmm.
because I
Okay.
know what it feels like to be in the background and not speak up, and then your voice doesn't get heard and you don't feel so well after.
Wow.
So
I
that's a,
appreciate that, man.
you're welcome. I appreciate this. I really
No
appreciate
problem.
this.
Anytime I'm gonna be trying to like further grow this roundtable throughout the semester with a multitude of students. But if anytime you want to maybe have a couple of other friends come on, reach out to me and we can set this up and we'll just have a roundtable discussion. This is always gonna be for the culture and always for the culture, and just trying to improve and change people's lives one day at a time. So
That's all we can do.
thank you so much for sitting down with me. I hope you have a wonderful time. Good luck in grad school.
Thank you.
Have a
Good
good
luck with
day.
all your endeavors.
Okay, bye.